I'm Grace Torrey, and you're listening to That Girl the Podcast. Grab a beverage of choice and settle in, because the new episode is starting now. Hey guys, what's up? It's your girl, Grace Torrey, and I am back with a whole new podcast episode. In today's episode, it's going to be partially like a little just update on like what I've been up to, but mainly we're going to be talking about how to be like present, but also detach, because I've really spent a lot of time recently detaching from outcomes and emotions and people and all of those things, and just like really surrendering to whatever is meant to be is going to be. And I've found that my life has gotten better. Like a lot of things that I've really desperately wanted to happen to begin with happened like as soon as I started detaching from them. And I also I'm not as anxious all the time. I don't know, I'm happier. So I want to talk about that. But yeah, I just woke up from like a 2 or 3 hour nap, so that's, if I sound a little different, that would be why. I'm a little disoriented still. We went to like a little food festival this morning that's going on by my house. That was cool. And then there wasn't anything there that we were like obsessed with, like wanted to try. A lot of the restaurants were local, and since you guys know I'm a huge advocate for small businesses, we'd already had most of it, and we weren't really super in the mood for any of it. So we actually went to a restaurant on campus, on UK's campus. RIP to the memories. It's actually like a Mexican restaurant that my friends and I used to go to a lot, and we went there for lunch, so that was really good. Josh and I like went out and ate, had like a little lunch date, because we don't ever really do that. Like we're always working, and then on our off days we're still working. And then I usually go ride Moondance on Sundays, but they're using her for UK's equestrian team is doing their tryouts this weekend, so they're using her, which good for her. She's obviously doing good where she's at now, if she's being used for like official intercollegiate stuff. So love that for her. RIP to me and having a good time, but I'll get out there some other time this week. So since that happened, it kind of forced me to be chill and not do anything too crazy. I do have a ton of like business ideas and things that I'm working on, but I'm just exhausted, so I took some time and literally lit like most of the candles in my house in the living room downstairs area, because you guys know I cleaned and decorated, and I just went to bed. Like I decorated for fall, made it super cozy, took a nap, knocked out. But yeah, part of the reason I'm so tired is we went to the 5 Seconds of Summer concert last night, and what a night. I love them. I have seen them. This will be my 5th time seeing them. They're the loves of my life. Other than Josh, obviously. They're like nostalgic, and like I'm very emotionally attached to them because I went through some shit with those guys. Like I started liking them in the 8th grade. So they went through a lot of very, very traumatic events in my life, and I really just ran to their music when shit got hard, to be real. So I hold them very, very highly. They're very highly regarded to me, and seeing them was almost like seeing an old friend you hadn't seen in a while. And they played music from like honestly very far back. I want to say the oldest they did was Sounds Good Feels Good, other than She Looks So Perfect, but I could be wrong. They could have gone farther back than that album. But I didn't know that because I've been not looking at the set list before I go to concerts, so I just didn't know that they were going to do that. So I was shook. Another thing is Ghost of You. When that song came out, or not when that song came out, when my bunny passed away, that song came on like right after, and you guys know Casper passed away very tragically, very unexpectedly, and he was a very, very needed, important part of my life at that time. Him and Evie and I, it was before Josh came around was when I got him, and the 3 of us did everything together. We went on trips together. We were just very close, and I considered my family to be them and myself. Like, I didn't really consider myself to be a part of my family I came from at that time because I had a lot of just trauma I was healing from, but I considered myself to have that family, and that's the family I had, and I was very protective of them and wanted to give them the best because I looked at them like, I am going to protect you, I'm not going to let anything bad happen to you, you guys are my whole world, etc., etc. So Josh came around, and then literally not too long after, Casper passed away, and I was very torn up about it. I didn't really talk to anyone for like a month, but that song came out, and that song, like, I was like, this is about him. Like, Ghost of You can be interpreted in a lot of ways. Some people interpret it that it's about losing someone you love, and then some people interpret it that it's about breaking up with someone you love. One of the band members' wives actually said that it was about, well, she considers it to be about one of their dogs that passed away. So it just is very fitting. Like, it's extremely fitting, and it made me very, very emotional. And I literally have not listened to it since. I did hear it live, but I think that was before. I'm pretty sure I heard it live before Casper passed away. And it's always been like a very emotional song, but not like that. Like, I didn't really have a reason for it to be emotional. It's just a sad song. But anyway, I am getting on an ADHD rant. Yeah, after he passed away, it came on. Haven't listened to it since, and they played it. So obviously, I sobbed on site. Like, Josh was just looked over me, and I'm like, tears streaming down my face, like sobbing. So yeah, that was fun. Love that for me. I also am somehow, like, I feel like I was hungover, but I haven't been drinking really because I just haven't felt great. Like, I don't know. Something's wrong. The balance is off somewhere. Like, I don't know what's wrong with me. I just know something's wrong. So I haven't really been eating, or haven't really been, like, drinking alcohol or doing anything that could be considered toxic to myself and not a good idea. So I don't know why I woke up feeling like super hungover this morning, but I don't know. I do. So yeah, I think that's really it. That's really all that's been going on. I have to go to work tomorrow. I want to work on a new business idea that I have. I know, a new one. Jeez. And then I still need to announce the other very exciting thing that's coming soon. I'm going to probably work on that after I get this uploaded. But I think that is pretty much all that's going on. For my life update, I'm just hanging out, being very present in the moment, and very kind of detached from the outcome. Like, obviously I'm working hard. That's not what being detached means. Let's jump on into this. Let's jump on into the episode. We're going to talk about what being detached means. So being detached, you can be detached from a lot of things. There's the law of detachment when it comes to manifesting. There's detaching from emotions. There's detaching from situations. There's all forms of detachment. We're talking about all of them, but it's not detaching from working hard or detaching from wanting something to work out. You're still motivated for things to work out. You still want them to work out. Detaching is not being obsessed with them working out. Not thinking that, oh, if this doesn't work out, I'm screwed. Like, detaching is not obsessing over it, or feeling like every single second of your day you're just thinking about how it has to come true, and you're not being desperate. You're not giving off this desperate vibe, if you will. Detachment is just like letting whatever is going to happen. Like, whether you believe in God or the universe, it's trusting that they have your best interest in mind, and the best thing that can happen for you is going to happen, and giving space for that. Like, you're giving space for things to come true because you're not so attached to the outcome that you're kind of blocking what's meant to be from being. But also in the form of, like, emotions and things like that, detaching yourself from emotions, like whether that's a person that you don't think is good for you, detaching yourself from them emotionally is kind of self-explanatory, so I'm not going to go into that, but that's extremely healthy for you. I've been doing that, detaching yourself from certain situations, whether that's something that happened at work or something that happened with a person, but you don't want to detach from the person, just the situation, and giving yourself kind of space to let it unfold, and whatever is going to happen is going to happen. There are so many ways to detach, and I think that I've really just gone for the gold and detached from everything that is no longer serving me. I think that I felt like has had control over me, like has made me anxious, because as you guys know, I have anxiety, I have OCD, I have a lot of diagnosed things that make me very obsessive with the outcome of things and wanting them to work out, and not surrendering to the magic of whatever the universe is made up of that's gonna let everything happen the way it's supposed to. So that's what detaching is. In terms of being more present, I think that when you do detach, you automatically become more present in what's going on right now, and you're not super concerned with the future, nor are you super concerned with the past, because you've detached from the past and you understand that you still have goals and things you want to work towards, but it's not consuming you. I tend to have the issue to where I become so obsessed with the future and the future that I have in mind for myself that I don't celebrate or engage with the present enough, and then I'm not happy because I'm not taking full advantage and finding beauty in the present. So that's where I'm at. I've really been enjoying the present and detaching. I did find some things on Pinterest that I really aligned with, that I felt like talked about detaching. So I'm going to read these simply because I feel like they aligned. I'm not saying they're right, I'm not saying they're wrong, but I do feel like there is value here. So that's why I'm reading them. Take it with a grain of salt, I guess. Like, process with your own experiences in mind. Do your own research. Detachment is a thing that comes in many forms, goes to many things. Just type in detaching from XYZ, and I'm sure you'll find all kinds of things on it. These were just things that I found that really resonated for me. So this one's talking about detaching from the outcome. It says detach from the outcome that you've built inside your head about that situation you cannot control. So I guess it is concerning a situation, like the outcome of a situation. It says detach from the expectations you've created and placed on someone else in your life. That need for control will lead to a whole lot of anxiety, worry, and resentment. Instead, focus on what you can control. It's not easy, but it's worth it. This is true. What you can control, you'll find, is, spoiler alert, it's not the outcome, it's not a situation, and it's not a person. What you can control is how you react. So when you focus on that, you become more free in a sense, because you don't feel like you're chained to a certain, like, you don't feel like if things don't happen a certain way, or something doesn't get resolved a certain way, or if a person doesn't reach out and say something specifically, that your life is going to end, like the worst possible thing is going to happen. You just understand that what you control, you can control. I obviously, well, not obviously, you probably don't know this. I work at a very fast-paced place. I don't think I've ever said that, but there's always something constantly happening, and there's a lot of things that go right, but there's also a ton of things that go wrong. And one of the things that my old manager, before I moved to a different department, constantly told me is control the controllables, Grace, because he knew that I was a big worrier. He knew that I would say, like, hey, I really hope this person, like, I want them to get this, I want this to happen, I want this, and he'd be like, control the controllables. We were close in age as well. Honestly, most of the team was very close in age, so we all talked about our personal lives a lot. We hang out outside of work, like, it's one of those things. So I did, like, talk to him about personal stuff. We asked for advice a lot, like, and he'd always say, Grace, control the controllables. And it would make me so mad, because that's not me. Like, I am anxiety, I am worry, I am OCD. So I would just sit there and worry 24/7 to the point that I'm miserable and literally sick to my stomach. And finally, I just got it through my freaking stubborn self that I need to control what I can control, and the rest is just kind of, I can do my best to manifest it, but even in the laws of manifestation, majority of the time they say, like, detach from it. If you're obsessing over it, you're giving off a desperate energy, and then it's not gonna happen either way. So I was like, well, damn. And so, yeah, I don't know. That's just like a little story. We're just like talking today. We're talking like besties about detachment and being present. So that was a vibe, if you will. How many times am I going to say it's a vibe? So I mentioned the law of detachment. That's, like I said, majority, everything revolves around it. It's a law, but it does have to do with manifestation as well. So these are like 4 pillars, I guess, or like 4 little mantras for the law of attachment, and it's written very like ominous, but I think that when you really break it down and think about it, it holds true. So the first one says, in detachment lies the wisdom of uncertainty. So I think that that's really beautiful and applicable, because basically what they're saying is the wise really do find comfort in uncertainty and understand that there is going to be uncertainty in your life and you can't control it. So when you detach and say, there is uncertainty here and I'm comfortable with that and I'm confident that what's meant to be is going to be, then that's when detachment happens. And I think that that is something that the wise do. Like, if you are full of wisdom and more knowledgeable, you understand where uncertainty and detachment come in. So I just thought that was a beautiful way of writing it. Like I said, it's a little ominous, but it's true. Like, the wise understand that there's uncertainty in life, and there's a time to be concerned and a time to just detach. This next one says, in uncertainty lies the freedom from the known. Like I mentioned, there's kind of being the idea that you're like imprisoned to certainty, and whether that is the certainty that you cannot live without something happening, or whether that is the certainty of, if you were to know what is happening, you would probably feel imprisoned to it, like a certain responsibility to what your future is if you absolutely knew what was going to happen. And there's freedom in not knowing, and freedom in the excitement that comes with not knowing. So there's 2 ways to interpret that, but either way, it's something we can learn from. This one says, detach from the outcome, be in the process. Cue the Climb by Miley Cyrus. Like, basically, the process can be this beautiful, exciting thing, and I think what a lot of people tend to forget is, when you want something, you're very dead set on the outcome, but the process is what makes you ready to tackle the outcome. If you started a business and said, I want this business to be this successful, I want it to be in every store, I want it to be an international thing, and I want it to be $1 million a day, that couldn't happen overnight. Because if it happened overnight and you had no previous experience and your business became extremely successful, it would probably fail because you don't have the knowledge or the tools to scale to a business of that size. So that's like the most applicable / common / realistic example I can think of at this time, but the process is so much more important, and I think that's something that people just have to really go through to understand. Like, when I was younger and I was just throwing businesses out the wall left and right, like, this is gonna happen, this is gonna happen, this is gonna happen, and then if it didn't happen, I'd just get so mad and be like, wow, I'm not cut out for this, wow, I'm bad at this, wow, I'm not meant to be doing this. That may have not been the case, and if I would have probably followed through with some of those, I would have been more successful right now, and that's something I'm okay with, because at the end of the day, I think a lot of them I ended up kind of just tossing to the side because I wasn't super passionate about it, and it's not something I wanted to do for the rest of my life. So, like, again, it's a blessing in disguise, but I think I wanted it to be successful overnight, and now that I've gone through the steps and I understand how the world works, I understand how important the process is, and the process is what makes you experienced enough to handle whatever that big goal you have is. And yeah, it's more beautiful than people understand. This last one says surrender to the dance of the universe, and I really like that. I think that's written very well because you're just surrendering to whatever is happening, and that doesn't mean like stop doing anything spiritually. That's not what I'm saying at all. Like, you can pray, you can do your manifestation routine, you can wish for something. I just don't think that it should be something you obsess over and should be something that you are so attached to that your happiness from day to day is dependent on if this has come to fruition or not. And I think that's where I have been at certain times in my life with certain things. So that's what I mean when I'm talking about attachment. You can still be spiritual, you can still pray for things, you can still manifest things. You're not completely detaching to the point that you just don't have any hobbies, or you don't care about anything, or you don't have goals. Like, you just kind of throw something at the wall and then never really think about it again. No, like, it's more than just that. So that is the law of detachment summed up in 4 little columns for you. Here's another one that says applying the law of detachment. These are affirmations. It took me a minute to find that word. Words are hard. It says, I will allow myself and those around me the freedom to be as they are. I will factor in uncertainty as an essential ingredient of my experience. Through the wisdom of uncertainty, I will find my security. I will not rigidly impose my idea of how things should be. And I really, really like that, because one thing that I struggle with is I impose ideas and characteristics of how I think people should be, and I push things on certain situations because I want it to be the outcome that I envision. And to an extent, I think that like, if you're following boundaries and being respectful about it, obviously don't try to change anyone. But when it comes to like situations where you're like starting something new, or or what is it, a world changer, you're a leader, like, they have to impose certain things to make them happen. So I think that there's a way that it can be respectful and you're still following people's boundaries, but there's a way that it cannot be. And I think that when you have a hard time detaching, you really get set in that way of it becoming not super respectful. So yeah, that's when you gotta really just have some moments with yourself. So this one is 4 laws of detachment. I don't think they're essentially laws. I think someone just called them that, but they're still helpful. This one says awareness. Detachment doesn't mean forgetting or giving up. It's freeing your energy from being drained by obsessively focusing on the outcome. Desperation energy clouds your clarity and energy from being in the receiving mode. So that one aligns with the idea of manifestation, that there's an energy of receiving and an energy of giving. And when you're giving all of your energy to desperation, you are not allowing any space to receive, and you're also drained. You're draining your energy, so you don't have anything else to do more. Number 2 is making room. Surrender your plans to the universe or God, or, like I mentioned, whatever higher power you believe in. Give your higher power space to work. Sometimes what you want isn't what you need. Try your best, but also make room for what is in your highest and best interest. Number 3 is letting go. What we desperately cling to or chase after is repelled from us because we come with the main energy and intention of lack, scarcity, rooted in fear. Fear is a low vibrational energy that slows everything down, which is true. Fear is very low vibrational, and you want to vibrate at a high energy, because that's when manifestation happens very quickly. If you believe in manifestation, these are a little bit more geared towards manifestation, so that's why there's one more that is manifestation grounded, and that is stay grounded. Stay grounded in your why. Place your energy on the feeling and expecting the highest good to manifest before the outcome. This keeps your energy grounded in confident energy versus needy energy. We've talked about having a why 1,000 times. Every single business person I've ever talked to, regardless of if they believe in manifesting, or they are going by the book, or they have experience, or they didn't get a freaking degree in it, like whatever the situation is, they always say two things. One, they just stayed grounded in their why. They understood their why, and everything revolved around their why. Two, they got lucky. The get luckies are very, very few and far between. So there's like way more of a chance of you having success if you have a why and follow it than just the I got lucky. But we are switching things up a little bit. We're talking about examples of detaching with love, and that is emotional or psychological detachment from a person. So I don't know if I'm going to read all of these, but I thought these were very helpful because I've been detaching from certain people, and I think that this was really helpful advice for that. It says, number one, focus on what you can control, differentiate what's in your control and what isn't. Respond, don't react. Take time to figure out what you want to say and say it when you're calm rather than being quick to react in the moment. Respond in a new way. For example, instead of taking it personally or being defensive, shrug off a rude comment or make a joke of it. This changes the dynamics of the interaction. Allow others to make their own, good or bad, decisions. Don't take responsibility for other people's behavior or the consequences of their choices. Don't give unsolicited advice or tell others what they should do. Don't obsess about other people's problems. Don't work harder to solve their problems than they are. That's a big one. Set emotional boundaries by letting others know how to treat you. Be sure your expectations are realistic. Unrealistic expectations are often a source of frustration and resentment. Do something for yourself. Notice what you need right now and try to give it to yourself. So that was the list of ways to detach from someone with love. And I think all of those are beneficial. It's a big thing for me is just setting your boundaries, being very clear about your boundaries and saying it in a loving way. You don't have to be mean. Like, be very loving and understanding when you explain your boundaries, but also be very, what's the word I'm looking for? Oh my gosh, I can't think of the word. It's like authoritative, but not. Like, be very assertive, it's that word. Be very assertive in the way that you say that this is like non-negotiable. You need to lay down the law in a loving way. I think that's the biggest way. And then if people continue to cross those boundaries and don't give you what you need repeatedly, that's when I personally go no contact for either a while or for forever until whatever. It's been years since I've talked to some people. And don't just like ghost them. Definitely explain why things are the way they are and why you're gonna step away. But yeah, that's the biggest thing that I think has helped me when I've detached from a person. Understand that their decisions are their decisions, not yours, and you can want for them to treat you a certain way or respond a certain way to things all you want, but at the end of the day, it's up to them. So don't lose sleep if they don't make a decision that aligns with what you want it to align with. So yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this episode. If you haven't already, make sure to follow on whatever platform you're on. If you don't mind leaving a rating, a review, or a like, depending on the platform, it takes about half a second and changes my life. I also would love it if you could share this with someone that you think needs to hear it. That would be so wonderful, so amazing for the podcast. You would get your girlies on to the That Girl train, and the world would hopefully be a better place. We'd have more girlies in the community wanting to become better versions of themselves, that's for sure. Don't forget to follow the Instagram and TikTok down below. I have my personal links as well as the podcast links. I love you guys so, so much. I upload every single Sunday and Wednesday. If you're watching this on a Sunday night, I hope you have a great night. If you're watching this any other day, I hope you have a great morning, afternoon, or night. I love you so much, and I'll see you in my next podcast episode. Bye, guys.